Hello there folks, welcome back to the Chap's Guide. My name is Ash and I am your host on this journey through men's style, self-development and personal grooming. Now welcome to another one of my Pilgrim's Progress videos where I sit down and have a conversation with a gentleman who has been on an interesting life journey and has some lessons that we can all learn from the pilgrimage that they have been on to Chap Nirvana. So today I'm talking with Anthony, who hails from Arizona, a long way away, but thanks to the wonders of Zoom, we get to have a chat today. Let's begin. Well, Anthony, welcome to the Chap's Guide. It is a pleasure to have you here today. Now, just for the sake of the viewers, I'll introduce you, Anthony, and you are the host of the Gent Journey podcast. That's right?
Yes, I am.
And
yes, that's correct.
How long have you been going with that?
God, let's see. I have 108, 109 episodes. It's been about a little over 2.5 years. It's really labor of love because, like, for me, when I was starting that podcast, the reason why I started that was, one, to kind of leave a legacy behind, right? But the second thing is I was noticing, like, in the podcast world or in the self-development world or in this manosphere, Gent world, is that everything was just about style. There was no substance. Everything was about sizzle. But, like, okay, you made $1 million or you got past this, but how did you do that? Like, how did you get from here to here? And I don't want to pay you tens of thousands of dollars just to realize at the end that there was nothing there. How do you do that? So, really just giving you an unfiltered look about how I deal with situations, how I deal with things, and then going about just daily life, becoming, a gentleman. Like, you talk about Chap Nirvana, I talk about, the journey to become a gentleman it's a journey. That's why it's called Gent's Journey. You're on this path to where every day you are going to get tested. Every single day you are going to, the world's going to say, are you sure you're a gentleman? Or are you just kind of placating this? You just want the nice suit or just wear nice, just wear the Creed cologne or whatever it is, or just look down on people because, you're here and everyone's up there. But a real gentleman is, and what I'm finding in my journey is, a real gentleman is someone who rises everybody up around him and brings everybody together. So all the horses are pulling the same cart in the same direction. And that's really where you make change. And that's what I try to do in my podcast, is to always give you bits of information that you can really make changes in your life and build that momentum to become a gentleman.
Well, thank you, Anthony. We got the plug out of the way pretty early on there, so we can relax now. Right?
Sorry. Yeah.
So I got to say, I advocate to visiting your podcast. I've been along. I've listened to a few of your episodes, and I will continue to be. I'm a new fan, so I'm very much looking forward to going on the journey with you. But as you know, we're talking about journeys here today, because this is a Pilgrim's Progress video where I have the opportunity to have one of these wonderful chats with somebody that I've encountered through my journey. And I know that they've got a story to tell. And that story may be beneficial to others listening. All right? And normally they're not, there's normally a bit of sadness and overcoming an obstacle and, battling forward. And I know that's going to be present today. But you have something which is inspirational and motivational for the people who are listening. I'm looking forward to hearing it because we've only briefly discussed this in the past. And I'm not going to do a lot of talking here. I'm going to steer you along. And I'm going to start off with a really open question because I want you to introduce yourself and tell us about your journey. And then perhaps we'll break it into chapters after you've hit us with the full story. And we'll maybe unpack some of the bits which will be useful and valuable to folks out there. So, Anthony, tell me about your journey to Chap Nirvana.
So my journey to Chap Nirvana, or the start of my journey to become a gentleman, really started when my mom passed. And there's always these moments in life to where your real life starts, where you become something that you didn't know you could become, right? And it was the start of my mom passing. And the reason why I start there is it was the hardest decision of my life Um, my mom passed away of cancer. This is now about 13 years ago. And it was one of those things to where I'm the one that had to pull the plug, right? And when you have to do that and you have to take someone who was essentially the first love of my life and end their life because it's the best thing to do is a real test of your integrity, a test of who you are. And once that happened, my whole life changed. In the beginning, it was all bad, right? And what I mean by that is I just lost my mom. Right after that happened, I lost pretty much my whole family. No one talked to me because they were mad because I had to do the right thing. And as that was happening in my life, I started making decisions that were probably not the best in my life. Um, I was abusing alcohol on the regular, having a really big problem with that. It's because I was still trying to push forward and not really giving myself the opportunity, one, to grieve, but two, to really look inside myself for fulfillment. I was looking for other people to give that to me. I was looking for relationships to give that to me, and realizing that they can only come from within. And because of that, when you're on this journey, it always starts, like I said, mine started, you could say, in a bad place, but it was one of the best things that ever happened to me because I had to make a decision to say, okay, I'm going to take this on. I'm going to come out a better person of this, and I got to do it for my mom. This is why I always carry her with me. This was a part of one of her little dresses, and it's always part of I have a pocket square collection of just her stuff. And so she's always with me. So I was looking at, like, she's always looking over me, you know, and by making a decision to saying, like, you know what, I'm no longer going to be a victim of the circumstance. I'm going to be a victor of the circumstance. I'm no longer going to live in fear of my life. I'm going to make the best of my life, because realizing that your life is nothing's guaranteed. Tomorrow is not guaranteed. All you have is right now. And one of the biggest things about my mom that she taught me was being present in your life. A lot of times we're so distracted with everything that goes on in life. We're distracted about what other people think. We're distracted about how we feel. We're distracted about what's going on in the world. We're distracted about this, about that. And we're not being present in the moment of being with the people that you love. We're not being present in the moment of just taking the time for yourself and grieving, or really working on that thing that you want. We call it, Chap, we call it the journey to become a gentleman. All that really is being the best person you can be at any specific time and making those right decisions. And I made the first big right decision in my life, which was the passing of my mom, like doing that. But now I know that if I can do that, I can do anything. Like starting my podcast. I had no idea how to podcast. I had no idea how to edit. If you listen to the first 5 episodes ever, you're hearing things bouncing off the walls. You're hearing me, like losing train of thought. But it, like, for me, because I had all of this inside me, that I know other people, not just men, but women too, that were, it can't just be me going through this. It can't just be me, like, suffering. And sometimes when we share how we feel and we see that there's other people that are going through the same thing, you start to build, like, a community of, like, you know what? We're stronger together than we are separately. And you start to realize it's not just you going through this. You start to understand that there's other people too that can give you cliff notes on, hey, don't, if you're feeling this way, don't do this. This might be a better option for you. You know what I mean? And for me, going through that, leaving this legacy of all my podcasts and everything I do on Instagram, like leaving those things, where, let's say, for instance, I'm gone tomorrow, like I was saying earlier, I have a legacy behind for my son, or for anybody that wants to know about how I was feeling about life, or about just, general topics. You're going to know. You're going to know. And because I'm always going to be present with you wherever I do, whatever conversation I have, I'm going to always give you my 100% focus and attention, because time And this is the biggest thing that if anyone gets out of this, time is the most valuable asset that you have that you can never, ever get back. So never waste your time on things that you don't want and waste it on, or I shouldn't say waste, but invest it in times or opportunities that are going to benefit you and benefit people around you.
No, absolutely. Even the richest man on this planet can't buy 1 second of time for all of the money which he's got. So you're
Right.
absolutely right. So what you talked about there was an awful incident, of course, where you lost your mother. But how did that grief manifest itself within yourself? You said you sort of went off the tracks a bit, did you?
Yeah. So I lived in fear of everything. And fear, I choose as an acronym, right? It's false evidence appearing real. I had all these false ideas in my mind of blaming myself, of saying that I'm not worthy, saying that maybe I should just not be here anymore, maybe that, I'm not this, I'm not that. So it was this battle that I was having with myself until I took a stand and said, you know what? I'm willing to take all this on now. I'm not going to sit here and beat myself up and allow my life to go down the tubes. I have to find a reason why. Again, for my mom, right in the beginning. And now having that, I have a reason. Now I have a focus. Now I have a purpose to start moving forward in my life. And that's what happens a lot of times when we're like veering off in different directions. It's because you don't have a focus. You don't have a reason. You don't have this vision in front of you, right? It's because it's like this, it's like the shiny squirrel syndrome. Like, oh, what's that? What's that? What's that? It's like, no, this is my focus. This is my purpose. This is my reason. Because it allows you, if you know you're going off track and your vision starts getting front, like I'm not working towards it, then and you start pushing forward again. And again, but that takes present of mind to do and to realize, like I said, fear is just, it's here. It's always worse in here than it ever is outside of you. Every time. You always make the story that you play in your mind is always worse than the story that it's true, right? But if you tell yourself that enough times, about this false evidence appearing real, your thoughts, your intentions, and your actions create that situation that you don't want. It creates that for you because it has to mimic what you're thinking.
Hmm.
That's the biggest thing. I talk about something called thoughts, intentions, and actions. Like I was just saying earlier, what you think about, what you intend is what you act upon, right? If I'm always having these negative thoughts, I'm always going to have negative intentions. So I'm expecting the worst to happen. And to make that a reality in my life, I'm going to act as such those bad things are happening to create the loop for that to happen. Instead of thinking like, you know what? Yeah, sometimes it's really hard to think positive. It is. And the world that we live in is always negative. But I always say this one thing. If I believe that I'm great and I start thinking great things and if I start intending great things to happen, I'm going to act as such, right? And therefore it happens, right? And it may not happen the way that you want it to right away, but everything in your life happens for you and not to you. It
Hmm.
always happens for you. It's always a way to where it's sharpening your knife. It's always a way to sharpen your edge or sharpen your focus. If bad things are happening around you, maybe those things are being taken away from you so you can achieve what it is that you want.
Hmm.
Because
So
it gives you an opportunity to go all the way. I'm sorry, go ahead.
no, 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 not at all. I was going to say, Anthony, you've obviously got a lot of clarity of thought around this. I mean, I appreciate you've got a podcast, so you've had time to sort of think about it and articulate it quite well. But how did you get that clarity? I mean, was there a time where the mists were a lot, how did it happen? That's what I'm trying to get at.
So,
How did you
so
break through the mist and have that certainty of vision?
okay, so I'll tell you this. So everything around me was going to crap right after my mom died. And I struggled for about 5, 6 years until I made a decision. And I was working for companies and I was chasing money. I was always chasing things outside of myself, not completing what was in my heart, but just over and over and over again, right? And when everything around me was destroyed, right? I had an opportunity to start driving truck, right? and I started driving truck. And when you're by yourself, like I don't think a lot of people understand this. When you do long haul trucking, you are by yourself 95% of the time, right? You don't really see anybody. So there are these instances where I had to fight myself for myself, meaning that I had to make a change in my life and I had the time and opportunity to do it. So I have to do it. Right. And by making that decision, by, everything, it's again, when you look back on everything, everything's 2020 when you look back, right? That I was given an opportunity, okay, you're going to drive truck for a couple years, right? And it's going to be hard. It's going to be hard on your family. It's going to be hard on you. It's going to be hard on everything, right? But it's going to give you the opportunity to create Gent's journey. It's going to give you the opportunity to actually go through all of this stuff, get all of this crap out of you and really be clear focused. So I would say like what changed for me was when I started driving truck and being by myself and deciding like, you know what, I have something to fight for and deciding that I'm not going to live this life anymore. Because I'll tell you what, the worst time of my life was a New Year's Eve, right? I'm in the middle of Iowa. I think it was like in Dearborn, Iowa. And it's snowing. I mean, it's like 30 inches of snow it's supposed to get, right? And I'm sitting here driving and I haven't seen anybody for hours. And I'm getting a couple text messages here and there, like, oh, Happy New Year, Happy New Year, Happy New Year. And I'm like, I'm sitting here depressed, upset in the middle of Iowa. And do I matter? And it was that time where I said, I do matter. I'm not going to live this life anymore. I'm going to pursue what it is that I want. And I'm going to be honest, I'm a spiritual person. I said, I always have when I went to bed that night, I had a pen and paper by my bedside. And I said that if I'm not supposed to do this anymore, something's going to happen to where when I wake up, the first thing I think of, I'm going to write it down. And it was Gent's journey. Actually, it was called A Gentleman's Journey, but then I shortened it to Gent's journey because that was just too long. And it was one of those things that I said, okay, well, what's a gentleman? And that's when I started looking at what gentlemen were. And then it was more about dressing. It was more about those things. And it was like, but how do you become a gentleman? So, you look at like Cary Grant, you look at, Frank Sinatra, you look at all these Instagram guys. I'm like, okay, I know it has to be more than just about fashion. What else is there? And I just noticed that there was like I said, this big gap. And I'm like, you know what? I'm going to talk about what a gentleman means to me. I'm going to talk about the struggles that I'm facing. Like, my first podcast ever was called Mindset, right? And I literally talk about how I was going through negativity. And one of the biggest things you'll catch on to this, I don't want to give everything away, but holding on a negative thought and then letting it go when you want to, not when it wants to go, because accountability and responsibility is the first steps to becoming, in my opinion, to becoming a gentleman. When you take accountability for your actions, when you take responsibility for who you are, it's a starting point for greatness to happen in your life. That's just my personal opinion.
Absolutely. I mean, so did you ever answer your own question? What is a gentleman?
It's a journey, a journey. To become a gentleman it's always you're pushing the goalposts further and further away, right? And you start to realize, like for me, I would say for like what gentleman means to me is like where I can have a conversation with somebody, and how can I make whatever time I'm giving them better? How can I serve you, right? Not about what you can do for me, but what I can do for you. It's like what they call a he over I philosophy, right? If you take care of the people around you, they will take care of you, and that's how I have always lived, because there's no better feeling in the world where you may have a client or you may have a friend or you may have a loved one or a family member where you teach them something, you talk them through something, and you see that change in their life, and you start to see them do this, there is no amount of money that can ever replace that one feeling.
Mm.
And that, to me, that's always what I'm looking at. Like, how can I help my community? How can I help the people around me? How can I help this be better? Right. And by doing that, my life is always being fulfilled, and I always have challenge in my life because I'm not just sitting here just waiting for things to happen. I'm going and making things happen. I'm going building relationships. I mean, like here, like we're having a conversation. I like, I saw your video about the pilgrim process. Like, I want to do that.
Mm.
I maybe, there might be just one person that might be going through the same things that I was going through in the beginning. And then they listen to my podcast and it's like, you know what? Wow.
Yeah.
It's all about helping each other out here. And that's
So
that's what a gentleman really is,
it
helping each other
is.
out.
It's a bit like I always think of it as, I equate it to a sort of medieval mindset where there were knights of the Round Table. I know it's an artificial story, but King Arthur, the Knights of the Round Table, and it was all about service. They dedicate their lives to the service of others.
Right.
And I think, that sort of era of gentlemanly manners, and I mean the art, the attire, the clothing, which is often associated with being a gentleman, I think is a tiny part of it. You have to clothe your mind before
Right.
you clothe your body. And I think that's very much the gentleman mindset. And it sounds to me as if for you, the catalyst which propelled you into that self-realization that the gentleman path was right for you was a tragedy. It was the loss of your mother. And what you described was almost like therapy of solitude. Being on your own allowed you to think through those processes. Would I be right
Right.
in saying that?
No, yeah, that is correct. And I wouldn't recommend that for everybody necessarily. But to me, when I had no distractions, right? And my only responsibility was to get this merchandise or this load from point A to point B. And I would always drive at night because I could push harder and there was less traffic, right? So there's really nothing that's going to be on the radio. And this is the other thing too that I realized about my life is that I was attached to I needed negativity in my life because when you're thinking negative, like you need more things to be negative about. So I was always watching the news. Like when I was driving truck, this was when Trump was in office and we were gonna like bomb like North Korea. I'm like, oh my God, I'm gonna be in the middle of nowhere. I'm gonna get nuked, and all these scenarios we have in mind that weren't true. It's because of what I was taking in. I wasn't reading. I was just taking in all this garbage. So I started listening to audiobooks because I wasn't a big reader yet, right?
Mm.
And then, and I listened to all the classics like, Think and Grow Rich, Mastery, just, a lot of Robert Greene books. Like I was just trying to just get as much positivity in my life about like, okay, you could take this on, Anthony, you could do this. You can do this. You're only holding yourself back. And in order to have cheerleaders around you, you have to be your own cheerleader first
Mm.
because people want to root for you, but they have to have something to root for, right? If you're just constantly doing the same thing again and again and you're not making progress and you're being down on yourself, you're going to attract people in your life that are just going to look at you that certain way. But if
Mm.
you start to just say no, kind of like Knights of the Round Table, like a suit, to me, it's like a suit of armor. You're suiting up for the day. I'm going to take this day on. I'm going to have the confidence to go out there and make it happen. But that all started from my mom passing away and the things that I love dearly just being, nope, we're going to take that away from you. We're going to just strip you of everything and you got to start from ground zero. You get to make a decision how your life is now. And I just like, oh my gosh, poor me. And just, that there's a time and place for everything, right? But I felt so hard that you get to a point to like, okay, where is the lowest ground? And you just keep finding new lows and new lows until you make a decision like, nope, not doing this anymore. You look around like, you know what? I've done this to myself. I have no one else to blame but me. So if I'm doing this to myself, I can now take care of myself and I can then move forward, and that's, like I said, that's the gentleman's journey.
Mm.
That's the path. That's to where you start to meet people. Like I've met a lot of people that are on that same journey. We all call it different things. We're on that same journey to where self-improvement, self-development, helping people around you, right? Building a solid community of like-minded individuals, because I think a lot of guys in this sphere, like, we only the manosphere is like, you got to be this alpha male, you got to be this, you got to be that. Like, yeah, those are all great traits and everything like that. But at the same time, when you help other people around you, we all have different abilities that are going to shine in different situations. And it's kind of like you could say the three musketeer, philosophy: one for all for one.
Mm.
And realistic, if we're all going towards the same thing, it doesn't matter if you led us there, I led us there, he led us there, she led it. If we all got to the same place, whoever led you, it's fine. But we all got there, and
Yes.
we got there because of all of us. It wasn't just because, like, yeah, you helped here, and I helped there, you helped here, she helped over there, but we all got there. That's the biggest thing. We got there, and we're gonna keep going to other bigger and better places. It's
Mm.
not just here. And once you get here, it's like, oh my gosh, what's that over there? And then you go there. Oh my gosh, I can see now, you're at the top of this mountain. It's like, oh, we could go this over here. Like, you know what? Let's look out for this and this, because it's kind of the same terrain here. It's about building your community. By building yourself, you're a community of one in the beginning. Once you build your own community, then from there, you start to build other people up, right? By building themselves. And then it's just like, it's that tree, it's building those branches that just start reaching out, and it shades you,
Mm.
it protects you. You can build from it. It's just what it is. That's the meaning of being a gentleman to me.
Absolutely. I mean, your philosophy to life is infectious. I can feel it. I can feel it coming through.
I get really passionate about this
You
stuff, so
do, you
I
do.
love
And
it.
it's good. It's good. I mean, it's nice to see. You don't see people like that these days. So I got a question for you. All right.
Sure.
Now, I'm going to give you the opportunity, right? Hypothetically, of course, to go back in time. You're going to go back in time and you're going to meet your younger self when you were, shall we say, just turning an adult. What advice would you give to yourself which would help the younger you, the younger Anthony's journey through life? What tips would you give to smooth the path?
The only person that is holding you back is you. And for once in your life, give 100% to something. Don't half-ass it. Sorry, pardon my language. If you're going to do it, go all the way. Go all the way. And remember, you are only holding yourself back. Nobody else is. If you're going to do it, do it. If you're not going to do it, then don't do it. Don't say you're going to do something and then not do it. Go all the way and stop holding yourself back. And you will realize, if you do those two things in your life, everything is going to change for you. All these trials and tribulations will be a lot easier for you if you make a decision, stand by your decision, and go 100% into that decision. That's what I would tell myself.
That's good advice. That's good advice. So go all in, no half-ass.
Go. Don't half-ass. Go all in. There's so many people. You know what? How did my dad say it? If you're gonna, instead of half-assing something, why don't you whole-ass something instead? I'm like, I don't know if that's how that works, but sure.
That's
You know what
good.
I mean?
That's
It's just,
good.
yeah,
That's good. That's good
just go
advice.
all in. Why
That's good
not?
advice. That's good advice. So tell me, right? So you're in Arizona, right? So you're quite a long way from way away from me. Quite a few thousand miles. I mean, I've been to Arizona a few times. I've loved Arizona. It's a lovely place, beautiful place. So tell me, what do you have any inspiration? Is there a person or a thing which inspires you on a daily basis? Is it spiritual? Is it physical? What gets you up? Imagine, you're having a difficult day. What's the light at the end of the tunnel for you that you aim for?
You know what it is? I honestly gonna sound really strange. It's I'm trying to think how I can describe this. being present is one, but two, every time that I wake up, I'm grateful for the day that I have. I'm grateful for the opportunity that are going to be presented to me. That's what I say. First thing I wake up, like, I'm grateful that I am awake and I'm alive. I'm grateful for all the opportunities that will be in front of me. And my inspiration comes from a lot of things. It comes from watching someone like you roll their channel. It comes from, I watch inspirational things like, people that have like changed their lives. I really believe that everything in your life is a mindset. So I love like, I'm not gonna say like Elon Musk is an inspiration to me, but there's a story to where, him and his brother, when they're starting PayPal, they were literally living in their office and they didn't have a car, they didn't have anything. And they were willing to give up everything just for the opportunity to do something great. And what you'll start to see in life is that the people that are here, that you believe that are here, they had to give up any and everything on the pursuit for that. And they all say the same thing. Like being here wasn't what's important anymore. It's the tools and the development that I had to go through to get to here. So every time like I have a problem or, I always look at it as an opportunity. And I'm like, okay, how is this going to make me better? Like this problem that I'm facing, whatever that problem is, how can I get better? Right. So I never look at everything happening to me. I look at everything happening for me. Right. I always follow that mindset because if I'm going to look for negative things to happen in my life, I'm going to find negative things in my life. If I'm going to look for positive things in my life, I'm only going to find positive things in my life. Everything is a perception. That's the biggest thing. Everything in your life is perception. Perception is reality. If you think bad things are always happening to you, bad things will always happen to you. Right? If you think great things are happening to you, great things will always happen to you. It's always what you focus on. What you focus on grows. And I'm only ever going to focus on positivity. I'm only going to focus on helping. So I know if I do those two things are going to happen in my life to push me forward. So
Mm.
to answer your question, I guess in a very simple way, is that it's more than physical, it's more than spiritual, it's more than mental. It's all those things together, which I use as a creative force to push myself forward. Because there's gonna be days where I don't feel well, I have a headache, my back hurts, all these different things, and it's like, no, no, no. You could have an opportunity to meet somebody that you could change their life, or they could change your life, and I'm not going to risk those opportunities just because maybe I have a little bit of a headache or maybe that I don't feel super well. It's like, okay, I'm going to do my daily things. And I run into people. That means the universe, God, whatever you want to say, has put you in my path for a reason. And the exciting about that is I get to figure out what that reason is.
Mm.
That's the excitement.
I like what you said early on. It's having a victor mentality opposed to a victim mentality. And it is that simple, isn't it? You can, just by adopting a different mindset to the way you approach things, by being the person who solves the problem, rather than the person who just is thwarted by the problem, you can make that decision because you're the same person. You can choose to be the solver or you can choose to be the victim. So that's very interesting. I love the way you think about it like that. So we're a long way away, right? So we've done the sort of the ideology to life bit now, right? Let's talk about life itself. So you're a long way away from me, right? You're in Arizona. Um,
Mhm.
what is the gentleman's journey like? I mean, the actual, not the podcast, but what's it like being a chap in the United States of America these days? Do you see it as a difficult journey? Are you surrounded by people who aren't adopting that mindset? Or is it a growing trend that people are trying to better themselves?
So I would say there's two realities. There's the social media, Instagram reality, and there's like the reality, right? If you look at like social media and like becoming a gentleman, right? Obviously, I wear suits, I wear nice clothing, I get treated differently. I am not a person, and again, I think there's a time and a place for everything, right? I'm not somebody who's gonna wear athleisure wear all the time. I can't do it. It hurts my soul to do so, right? Because I feel like we talk about, we talked about pajamas earlier, right? But I don't want to wear pajamas out. And and to me, I see a lot of men, especially like in, let's say, late 30s, early 40s, that dress like 12-year-olds. They dress like, say they have a child, their child and them are literally dressed the same. They're wearing the same outfit. Like they're literally wearing the same outfit. And to me, maybe I'm an old soul. I don't know. But I feel that you dress for the opportunities get presented to you, right? And it could be a small thing. You get a free coffee because someone's like, wow. Or I can't tell you, every time I'm wearing a suit, people's like, where are you going? I'm like, what do you do? Are you a lawyer? Are you a banker? Are you someone in finance? Like, do you own? Like, it's always because those are the people that are still dressing, for it's your life is an occasion. So dress for it. Dress for your life. Dress for the person you want to be. And I don't see that a lot here in the States, especially like in Arizona, because it is warmer or whatever. So, people wear t-shirt and shorts and thong sandal flip-flops. Oh, I don't want to see feet. But that's usually what I see. And also, too, what I've noticed is there's this really strange demographic that I'm noticing. I would say between the ages of, like, say 20, probably like 25, right? You go into like these, I don't know, you go into like the Hollister, you go into like J. Crew, you go in these like department stores. There's a resurgence of classic dressing. There's a resurgence of it. And I'm noticing that you have kids that are used to dress just in athleisure wear that they're slowly coming to this, where you see guys my age that are still trying to dress like they're 12, right? And and I would say probably my biggest demographic are those guys. Like when I'm getting like emails or DMs or whatever, it's usually those kind of, because like they see opportunity around them and they're seeing the generation before them not take advantage of dressing well. Like when I go thrift shopping, when I'm buying suits or like a silk sweater or those kind of things, I'm not seeing guys my age. I'm seeing younger dudes like, dude, you see this? This is fire. And they're talking, it's a silk sweater. It's a cashmere cardigan. It's a cashmere turtleneck, because they're knowing the value of what they're seeing, right?
Mm.
And they can't maybe afford it yet, but they know what real style is. And something that you talk about in your videos is if you're classically dressed, you're never out of place.
Mm.
And to me, I follow that. If I'm always classically dressed, I'm never out of place.
Yeah.
Because to me, if I'm dressed in a suit, I could be eating I could be at a coffee shop, I could be at a restaurant, and you're always going to get stares in the beginning, and it's going to happen because people are like, it's not like a judgment stare. It's more like intrigue, like I wonder what that guy does, or what he's doing, or like a guy like I'll never forget. Like this is another thing too. I was in a J.C. Penney's and I was buying a shirt, and this couple came up to me. They said, like, "Do you know how to tie a tie?" This guy was probably in his mid 40s, and I said, "Yeah," because the kid didn't know how to tie a tie, so they just saw me like, "Do you know how to tie a tie?" I'm like, "Sure." So they bring me a tie, and I'm using it, and the guy, this is no kidding, and no fault to this gentleman, he was going to put a tie in a polo shirt. He thought that was dressed up. I'm like, wait, wait, whoa, whoa, whoa. You're gonna put this on that shirt? He's like, yeah. I'm like, no, no, no. Here, let me help you. So I'm like, you have probably about like a 16-inch neck, I'm like, you're probably like a 32, 33 sleeve, and I literally found an outfit because he was going to his daughter's wedding. I'm like, you can't, no, you cannot do that. And then his wife, he was sitting there he was trying this on, and his wife said to me, she's like, thank you, because this was a really big ask of me to him. But she's like, I don't know anything about men's fashion. And she's like, I think God put you here to help him. And it was just one of those acts of service that I don't know what happened. I didn't,
Yeah.
I didn't get a number or anything like that. But it was just one of those small things to where that guy was trying, but because of the knowledge that I have that I could help him with, now he's going to make an impact at his daughter's wedding. And that, like, to me is it's a huge win for both sides.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's interesting. Somebody posed a question to me the other day. One of my patrons, I think, said to me, um, he'd noticed that when I talk about questions on my channel, I often read them out, and he said, I've noticed a few younger men have asked you questions. And he actually said something which resonated with me. He said, do you think that's because of the world in which we live today? The divorce rates are so high. So in the UK, I think I looked it up because I wanted it to be a sort of accurate response. 42% of marriages end in divorce. In the States, it's
Right.
50%.
Yeah.
So a lot of young chaps are growing up without necessarily dad being in the household. So they do not see their father dressing up, maybe to go to work, teaching them how to tie a tie, how to shave, things like that. So they're having to learn through the medium of social media. And, the question he asked me was, do you think the world, this sort of high divorce rate world is part of young people not being able or not appreciating style as they used to? And I thought, yeah, of course it does, because my dad, he's about to 93, and he's had to stop driving now. So I take him out to go to the supermarket. Even when he
Yeah.
goes to the supermarket, wears a collar and tie. Wouldn't imagine leaving the house without dressing to go out, even if out is just walk down the street. And I think that's true. I mean, would you agree that's what you're seeing over there?
Oh, 100%. And I think, and you bring up a good point, is it's being well dressed is respectful not only to yourself but the people around you, right? Because we all wear, like, everyone's in athleisure wear, but they're going to remember you. You may go to a place once, like I've gone to like a Starbucks once, and then maybe a couple weeks later I'll go back to, like, you were that guy that was wearing a suit. I remember you. Or let's say you wear a nice cologne. Same thing. When you put your best foot forward in what you're wearing, it it inspires other people around you. Like your dad, like he couldn't imagine anything like, not wearing, not being, I call it buttoned up, not being buttoned up, right? Because it's a respect issue, not only for himself, but the presentation he's giving to other people. You know what I mean?
Mm.
And being a gentleman, that's whatever you want to say, that's what it's really about. But here's the other thing too, is that when you're wearing clothing that is well capped or well made and tailored to you, gives you, you stand up a little bit, you're more about it. But then you realize, even when you're like maybe going to the gym, you're wearing athleisure wear, that you're still standing up tall, and you have presence about you, you have pride about you, right? So then there is no difference between you wearing a suit and not wearing a suit. It becomes a choice, and choices become a lifestyle. And that's really what, when we talk about the journey to become a gentleman, it's making lifestyle decisions that'll make it easier for you to accomplish becoming a gentleman, or in the journey of that.
Fantastic. I love it. So we've talked for quite a while. I think we're probably towards the end
Yes.
of our conversation, but I'm going to ask you one final question, all right? If you had to leave
Sure.
all of the chaps out there now who've watched us and heard us speaking today, one bit of advice, what would you advise people that they can do to make their journey to chap nirvana, based on your experience, a little bit easier today?
Not everything happens immediately, for one. Two, anything worth having in life takes preparation, takes hard work and determination, and realizing it's not about stuff. It's not about stuff. It's about this, about how you feel. So don't always go for the shiny things. Go for what's going to make you better. What pursuits that makes you feel that connects with you. And if you're always in that mindset, what's connecting with you, friends may come and go, but you will find people that are more solid and that are more real, that you will be able to build a community and group with that'll help you push forward. So again, what I'm going to tell you It's okay to, everyone starts from square one. It's okay to be new. It's okay not to know in the beginning. It's okay. It's okay to fake it till you make it. It's okay. But just start. Do not hold yourself back. That's what I would say.
Thank you, Anthony. It has been a pleasure speaking to
No,
you
thank you so
today,
much. Thank you so much.
a brother chap in another part of the world. Thank you for sharing your knowledge with us. And I would,
Thank you.
again, just remind people that your podcast is out there. If you enjoyed what you heard today, there's a lot more there in the Gent's journey. So go and look it up and go on the journey with Anthony. Thank you very much.
Thank you, guys.
So that was Anthony, a long way away from where I live in the south of England, over there in Arizona. And I think you'll agree, there were lots of tips, ideas and advice that we can all apply to our own life journey to make our pilgrimage to Chap Nirvana a little easier. Now, if you've enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up. If you'd like to see more, don't forget to subscribe. And if you would like to share your life journey with me here on a future Pilgrim's Progress video, drop me a message, drop me an email, or just leave something in the comment section and we can put something together. Be that in person, if you live in the UK, or if you live elsewhere in the world, well, we have the wonders of Zoom. We can have a chat, just as I've done today with Anthony. So until the next time, take care, enjoy your pilgrimage, and I will see you again very soon.